Hey, good morning. It's Thursday, September 3rd. I'm hoping that this algebra stuff is you're kind of figuring it out and turning your assignments in. I'm still having a lot of trouble with you guys not reading the directions when you submit them into Google form. So if you can really help me out, really reading the directions on how to put your answers in, then I won't get all these emails saying, Fisher, I did the problems right, I just didn't put them in the computer right. Will you fix it? Because I can't really go back and fix it. So what I have to do is I have to find you on a spreadsheet after doing some digging into folders that Google made. And each one of you are kind of emailing me to go fix it. And it takes a lot of time on my end. So if you can really try hard, I get it every once in a while, the computer won't take the negative sign, or somebody, two or three people said on one problem last week it wouldn't take the units at the end. Some people got it in, some people didn't. You wouldn't let them put a unit. So we're trying to work that out. But when basically you're just going through and not putting the variable, and then you're just putting numbers in, it really makes it kind of tough to grade. You miss them all, and then you email me, and then I try to go in and fix it. But I'm going to have to kind of put the skids on that. If it's my mistake, yeah, I'll go in and do it and fix it. But if you're just not reading the directions on how to put the answers in, I'm going to get less and less of going back and fixing it. So please help me out there. Okay, I got over 100 kids that are online here. So you times that by lots of emails going back and forth. The other thing I just thought of too is a lot of kids will email me saying, Mr. Fisher, I didn't put the answers right. Can you fix it, please? And then you don't tell me what assignment you're talking about or anything like that. So then I have to email you back saying, well, what assignment are you talking about? And then you have to email me back telling me, and then I have to do my research. So again, it kind of doubles the amount of emails that are coming in. So try to be specific when you email me, if you have to email me, about what assignment you're talking about in your email. Don't be real general, assuming I know what you're talking about. Be real specific and make it clear what you're trying to tell me. Okay, I would appreciate it. All right, here's our warm up for the day. So when you get these guys done, kind of pause the video, work on these, and then let's see how you did on the answers. I got the answers, and I noticed as I was going through it, and I think we did this last week, these warm ups last week, but that's okay. It's good practice. I hope that you said the x was the variable. When we multiply, we just do numerator times numerator. I look for cross canceling, and then I got 2/5. Dividing, we're going to do some of that today, so I think that's why they gave it to us again, is we're going to take the reciprocal, change the sign to times, and I ended up with 3/1, which is 3. Plugging things in, they said 0.05, plugged it in for the n. I got 4 plus 2 is 6, and then back to this one, that was kind of a mental math one, 2 plus 5 is 7. Today our job is to do one-step equations by using multiplication and division to isolate the variable. Again, it's kind of a review of junior high, but we want to make sure that we have these skills down so as we get into more involved problems, is that we kind of have this set pattern on how to show our work and how to isolate that variable. Here's our problem for the day about pilots, and when they start their descent into an airport. We're going to have a word problem today that kind of deals with that they do this math, how far out they have to start descending into the airport, so that it's not a real dramatic drop and everybody's kind of freaking out and wondering if we're going to crash. All right, so here we go. Right now, this problem here could be written like this as well, so kind of keep this in mind. There's really a 1 in front of that k, so we could write it as that as well. 1/5, negative 1/5 k. And so as we get older, we'll probably do some shifting on how we look at math problems here. Because if we do this right now, that says 1 divided by negative 5. Now we can also keep it simple like this and say, hey, the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So rather than writing it as a 1/5 like this, I would suggest that you just write let's multiply both sides by -5. And over here, I want to write right over this, and you can too. I want to multiply this. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Again, it's back to that rule of equality. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other one. If we really want to get technical, that's -5 over 1. So really, 1 times -5 is -5. -5 times 1 is still -5, and that reduces down to 1. So what we do is we just say they cancel over here. So I just have k. Over here, negative times a negative is a positive, and I got a positive 20. Reverse it so that your variable comes first. When you put your answer in today, k, no space, equal 20. You shouldn't have a problem. Some kids are kind of fighting me, and they do every year on this. Plug these numbers in so that you get really good at plugging numbers into equations. K we said was 20. -5 was already there. This guy comes straight down, and here's my math. Is really 20 divided by -5 really -4? And it is. So now we can put a box around the answer. This is really good practice for taking numbers, plugging them in for the variable, writing the equation just like it is, and doing some math. Okay, so check these guys, showing your work like this. Okay, some kids are just putting this as their check. And on the papers that I'm grading in class, this is not checking. That's just saying -4 equals -4. You have to actually put it back into the equation. Now I can't check you people at home, so you guys that are doing it online, I hope you're checking on the math papers, the practice sheet, the odds. Again, it'll be good practice, and you get faster at it, and you can double check, maybe catch. I caught one today that I made a mistake on. This really says m divided by 3. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. So the way we show our work is we say, let's multiply both sides by 3. Over here, 3 over 3 cancels out to 1, which is 1m, and 1.5 times 3 is 4.5. 4.5. Let me check on that calculator real quick. Yep, I got 4.5. So now over here, very important, go back to the original equation. We said our answer was 4.5 divided by 3 equals 1.5. Put it in your calculator. Pretend you don't know it's supposed to equal 1.5. And let's see if it really does. 4.5 divided by, yep, I'm getting 1.5. I did time, so it was a little bit of a pause there. I get 1.5, so it checks. And actually, I should be putting the boxes only around my answer. Okay? All right, this is the checking part over here. Now you try these guys. I'm not sure why that menu keeps coming up. You try it. I think yours says whiteboard, and I'm trying to fix that for this year. Give those a shot. Pause your video, and then come back and let's see if we got the answers. All right, I'm getting good at this too to speed things up a little bit. Hopefully you got p equals 50 on the first one. 1b, I hope you got y equals -39. If not, look at my work and see where we might have made a mistake. Okay, let's go now to these. I like these a little bit better. It's a little bit less confusing when you show your work. Right now that says 7 times some number has to be 56. Now again, I know these are mental math questions that you could probably figure that out on your own. You can probably say, hey, 8 times 7 is 56. But the mathematical way we do that is the opposite of multiplication is division. So the way we show it is like this. That says 56 divided by 7. Over here they cancel out. We got x equals 8. Let's go over and check it real quick. My x was 8. And, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a 7 there. It is, but it's part of my work. So, what do we have? 7 times 8. Does that equal 56? That's one of the hazards of writing over your work like that. Sometimes you can't, especially the negative signs if you write over your work. It checks out. Over here, doesn't matter if the W is on the left or the right. I'm not going to panic. I just want the W by itself. So that says -2 times W, so I'm going to divide by. a negative 2. And I'm getting a W over here because these cancel out. And I'm getting negative 6.5. Let's rewrite it with the variable first. When you put your answers in today, no spaces, W, no space, equal sign, no space, negative sign. Some of you guys are going the underscore, 6.5. Okay. Some people are just putting in negative 6.5 and it's marking it wrong because the directions say put it in with the variable with no spaces with the equal sign and negative 6.5. Give it a shot. You probably get better results on how you did. All right, here we go. Let's check it out. 13 equals negative 2 times negative 6.5. You can do your multiplication two ways. You can put it in parentheses like that. Sometimes kids will do this, and that's okay. You'll see me doing this. I'll use a dot for multiplication. I don't like to use it when I have decimals in the problem, so I use parentheses like that, but that still means multiplication. All right, let's give it a shot. And I am, again, pretending I don't know that this side's 13, so I don't even look at this side, and I got 13 equals 13. All right, quiz on tomorrow. You can be 100% sure that that problem's right if you come over here and check them like this, okay? Especially if it works out. Here's the you try it. Yours says whiteboard, I believe. Do these, pause your video, and when you're done, let's check out your answers and see how you did. Okay, I hope you're back. Let's see. Here's what I got. 2a, I got c equals 4. 2b, I got y equals negative 20. And 2c, I got k equals 5. I hope you got them right. We're going to have decimals and fractions all year long. Oh, and look at this. We have more fractions right here, just as I speak. All right, now follow me on this because I want to show you maybe a faster way to get this answer. Right now that says 5/9 times b equals 35. So technically we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to divide by 5/9 on both sides because the opposite of times is divided by. But that looks kind of weird. So here's what this side over here really says. It says 35 divided by 5/9. So the rule says we can only have division, we have fractions of numerators and denominators, so I put a 1 under that. The rule in division says let's take the reciprocal of the second, change the sign to times. Then we can look for cross canceling. And 7 times 9 is 63. Over here my v's canceled out. I'm in my 5/9, so I just have a v over there. Now, that's a whole lot of work. I'm going to erase this because I can. If you've been taking notes, good. You might just let's just rewrite it over here. That's the long way to do it. Here's the shorter way to do it that I challenge you to kind of start practicing this. It's uncomfortable at first, but I think you will like it. I want to change my color here. So there's the original problem. Now, every time we divide, don't we end up taking the reciprocal? So I say, let's not rewrite all this stuff over here. Let's just automatically take the reciprocal of 5/9 because that's what we want to get rid of. And so I want to take the reciprocal. I'm going to multiply both sides by that because that's what we're going to end up doing anyhow. Every time we're going to take the reciprocal and change the sign to times. So I say, let's cut the chase and all that work. This is 45 45s, which is basically 1. So these guys cancel each other out. So that just becomes a v. Now over here, I still have a little bit of work to do, but less amount of writing. 7 times 9, 63. A whole lot less work over here than this whole mess over here. Okay? So I suggest that you do that way. This math problem here could be written this way. 5/2 equals 4/3 y. The y can go in the numerator, it can go in the denominator, it can go right behind it. Doesn't really matter right now where the y is. It's 4/3 y. I take that back. It can't go in the denominator. It can go behind the 4 or behind it. Okay. So I would say, here's how I would show my work. We're going to divide by 4/3, but our trick that we learned over here is let's just take the reciprocal, which would be 3/4, and multiply both sides by 3/4. I want to change my pen color so you can see it over here. Okay. So I'm going to ignore the y for right now because I know there's a y over here, but 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 4 is 12, so these guys cancel out that I just have a y. Over here, I don't know if you can see it, I'm looking for cross canceling. It doesn't look like I can cross cancel anywhere. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to start putting my answer in standard form so I don't have to rewrite it again, but we can't have an improper fraction. So 8 goes into 15 one time. I believe there are 7 left over, so 1 7/8 is my final answer. I'll show you how to check here in a second. Okay. All right. Well, let's do one because we should have checked on those guys with the fractions ones. So let's just go ahead and do this one real quick, even though it says you try it, and let's see how we can do. Oh man, I hate that thing popping up. All right. So there's my b over here. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of both sides, 5/1. Be right neat and careful. You can kind of, a lot of times, not have to rewrite the whole problem. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5. So that becomes just a 1. So we say they cancel out. Now over here, there's no cross canceling to be done. So 5 times, well, positive times a negative. I know my answer has to be a negative. And that's going to be 5/4, which b equals negative, goes in there one time with 1 left over. Now let's go check our work. We have a negative 1/4 equals 1/5 times our answer. Now I'm going to make it improper right away while I'm checking. So 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, plus 1 is negative 5/4. That guy is right there. 1 times 5 is, well, I'm going to cross cancel here. That's going to be 1. That's going to be a 1. I have a negative 1/4 on this side that I just brought down. Over here, I got 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. And I see a negative sign right there. So it checks out. So I'm 100% sure that's the right answer. Don't let that J confuse you there. Even though it does say 4 times J, we could say 4/6 J's like this. It's the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to take the reciprocal. I'm going to squeeze it in here. 6/4, 6/4. Now, I don't care if you use parentheses or a dot for meaning of times, but show your work. Over here, cancels out the 1 that I just have a J. Over here, I'm going to look for cross canceling. I see some cross canceling right here. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 6 two times. See some cross canceling right there. 1 and 2. So now numerator times numerator, 2 times 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Interesting. J equals 1. Interesting. So if I have 4/6 times 1, going back to my original equation, does that really equal 2/3, I believe was what I had there underneath all my writing. Well, 4/6 times 1 is 4/6, so, oh yeah, I see, 4/6 reduces down to 2/3. 2 goes into both of these. It was not a reduced fraction. And indeed, 2/3 equals 2/3. All right, you try this one and see how you do. Pause your video and then unpause it. All right, let's see what I had down here. Oh yeah, this is the one I kept messing up on when I was checking or trying to speed things up here. Kept messing up on my checking, but I kept catching myself over here when I was checking it out. I was doing 106 times 6, not 102. So I was saying it wasn't working out when I was checking it. So hopefully you got it right the first time. I was pushing the wrong buttons on my calculator. Too early in the morning. Alright, so here's what airplane pilots have to do. The distance in miles from an airport that a plane should begin descending. Now, some of these words are going to keep coming up this year. Descending means this guy's going to start coming down. And if you ever been on an airplane, sometimes if they descend very rapidly, people freak out. True story, one time, we were on an airplane late at night flying from Alaska to Oregon, and somebody was on some drugs or something, started freaking out, and it was like 2 in the morning, and he jumped up and tried opening the emergency exit door, and somebody was kind of like yelling she needed help getting this guy away from the exit door. He had his handle on it, he was pushing on it. I swear I heard air, and I was freaking out because of all the movies that I see, where people get sucked out of windows when a window breaks or something like that. And I'm just envisioning all of us getting sucked out that door. And I feel bad because I was going to jump up and try to restrain this guy, but then I thought, maybe I get sucked out if he gets that door open. And anyhow, the message came up to the pilot that something bad was happening. And that pilot, man, he turned that nose of that plane down, and we were descending very, very rapidly. 2 other guys jumped up and restrained the guy that was trying to open the door, had him in the aisle pinned down, and we started leveling out then. But what was happening is they wanted to get it down that if something did happen, that we would have oxygen and be closer to the ground. But everybody was thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to die. We didn't, obviously, but it is pretty freaky when you're on an airplane and you see it descending that fast. Anyhow, you don't want to descend that fast. So let's get back to our math problem. So they want to descend at a rate that all the people aren't freaking out. And they said, well, you take that and divide it by 3 equals the plane height above the ground in thousands of feet out. So this plane is flying 10,000 feet. He wants to know how far out here should he begin his descent down that he touches down at the airport. So I'm still kind of helping you with some word problems. They said you take the distance that he should begin descending. So I'm going to use D for distance. Divide that by 3 equals the height in thousands of feet, 10,000 feet. He's above the ground. Always use your commas. Okay. So now we have our equation there. They said write an equation. Lots of kids are doing some weird things. They're just taking 10,000 like this, and they're multiplying it by 3 because they know what they're supposed to do, and they get this answer here. But they said write an equation. That's the first thing. That's worth 1 point. Again, you online people, the papers I'm grading in class, I'm looking for, did they write it? That's 1 point, but I can't do this on Google form. So I hope you're practicing. Then we're going to solve it. So let's go ahead and solve it. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And that's going to be 30,000 feet. 3's cancel out. Now, so they get another point for this, for solving it correctly, and then another point for answering the question. The question says find the distance the pilot should begin descending. So let's write it out. Pilot DES before the C. Should start descending at 10,000. Oh, no, it was 30,000, wasn't it? Let me go back and fix that. 30,000 feet. I have my units. Make sure I have my comma so that people can read my number easily. 30,000 feet. Now, just kind of as a little bit of a side note here, a couple of things. There's the numbers that we have to memorize this year. Do you know how many feet are in a mile? This is a number that we're going to have to memorize when we do lots of unit converting this year. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So if I really wanted to know how many miles out that was, I want to take this 30,000 and I want to divide it by 5,280 feet. So I'm going to do that on my calculator real quick, just because I want to know how many miles out are we looking at, and is this answer reasonable? So I got 30,000 divided by 5,280. I'm getting 5.68 miles out. So that's a pretty reasonable. 5.5 miles out is where this guy is going to start descending. That's reasonable. All right, so we'll work on this, but start kind of keeping that number in your head. I was kind of surprised last year that a lot of kids didn't know how many inches were in a foot. 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. We're going to use a lot of that converting in algebra this year. Okay. All right, so again, I'm hoping you're doing all these points. And before I leave you, we have done 4 properties now, and they're going to start asking us to write what property allowed you to do the operation that you did. 2 days ago and yesterday, we kept adding and subtracting to balance our equations and get the variable by itself. So one's called the addition property of equality, the other one's called subtraction property of equality. Today, to get the variable by itself, we either multiplied or divided by. These are mathematical methods or rules that we allow us to solve for the variable. And so at some point, they're going to say, start solving this 3, 4, 5 step problem. And they're going to ask us what property allowed you to do that. And so anytime we were adding or subtracting, if we were adding something to both sides, we'll write a sentence right to the right of it saying we used the addition property of equality. So don't ignore these guys. When it says know it, we're going to have to write these. I get it. Real world, is somebody going to ask you which property did you just do to solve that math problem? Probably not. But is it like on tests, like SAT test and school test? Yes. Okay. So we have practice 8. Over here where it says checking, don't just put 6 equals 6. All right. Whatever your answer is, put it in. Well, let's just do this one real quick. It says d divided by 8, so let's multiply both sides by 8. Here we get d equals 8 times 6. 48. Could I say 48 divided by 6? That's what you should say, because that equals 6. Oops, I see it's supposed to be divided by 8, and not 6. And it is 6 equals 6. Okay, so final answer. You don't have to rewrite it down there. All right, with that, let's just call it a day. Do the practice sheet, put your answers in. Tomorrow there'll be a quiz over some of the stuff that we've covered this week and last week. Okay, have a good day.